Hey guys, you're OSMVDXreviews.com. You're watching our video review of the Hallmark text bands. These are a very interesting, very inexpensive accessory that you can purchase from Hallmark and also at Amazon.com. They cost only $15 a pop, which is very inexpensive. The premise of these devices is you can input text messages on each band. It's going to store it in its memory, and whenever you tap it or shake hands with another band or watch, it's automatically going to transfer information from one watch into the other one. Now, these aren't physical watches in the fact that they don't actually display time, but they only really allow you to actually interact and display messages. It's very similar in premise to NFC or near-field technology for smartphones and tablets, where you actually touch something and automatically transfer information between two devices. So in the future, I have a vision of everyone having one of these watches, and everyone would have their basic name or something, and whenever they shake hands or high five, it's automatically going to tell one person what the other person's name and basic information is. So it's going to be an easy way to interact with other human beings. But back to planet Earth, these watches are quite bulky, so it's not as compact as I would have liked them to be. And again, they only does one function, which is just share information back and forth. You don't actually have to go in contact with the actual watches. You just have to be close enough where you shake the watches, if you high-five someone, and it's automatically going to transfer the information. It has a sensor on here, kind of like an accelerometer to know when you're shaking it, and it's automatically going to transfer the content back and forth wirelessly, which is quite interesting. Now, one disappointing factor I did have was the fact that this device doesn't come packaged in two watches. It only comes with one, and this is interesting because without another watch, you can't really use this. So a better implementation would be packaging these accessories in packages of two, so that two people can share the content in case you can give one to your friend as a present or something like that. And also the power on and off key on the very back of the watch is quite small to interact with. You can see that it's on the side there. It's highlighted in black, and it's difficult. You have to use your nails to kind of turn the device on and off. Thankfully, the battery life, even though rechargeable, it's just using a cell battery, it seems to be lasting pretty well. We've tested it for a few months already, and we've left the watch on for a few weeks, and there hasn't been any issues as far as the battery not letting the device work anymore. It still is pretty functional, so the battery life is pretty good. Now, you can also select and switch through different styles of the actual bands themselves. Hallmark is selling different designs. You can see that on the package, on the box here, and on the bottom here, it is pretty interesting. You can swap out bands for around $5 each to customize that, kind of like accessories for the actual watch. And again, it tells you to bump and then send different messages back and forth, or shake hands and like the forth. Now, one disappointing factor I did have was the fact that you can't send very complex messages from one watch to the other. They are limited to only a few characters long. You can't use any complete sentences. But for basic information like sup, your name, how you're doing, that's going to work pretty well. In order to select from new content, you have 3 buttons on the watch, 1 on the left hand side and 3 on the bottom. One just wakes up the watch from sleep and goes on a cycle. If you want to create a new message, let's press that to turn that off. We just press on the center key for an extended period of time, and there should be it's going to locate a character icon, which allows you to actually create your messages. Pressing the left and right buttons will actually cycle through different alphabetical letters, for example, A, B, and C. There's also other characters on here, including a lines, an X, a I, a star, a equal sign, and all these brackets, parentheses, a question mark, all the things that you typically see, including numbers and characters that you might want to use in your text messages, which is all thought out and pretty easy to use. It does take a little while to actually go through your different letters, but again, this device doesn't have a QWERTY keyboard to save space, which makes sense on a watch. So for what it does pretty well. So for example, if I want to do something like, I'm just going to use a few characters to save time, an X, and then we can go through an A, and then perhaps another X, and I'm going to do a different design. It's a random design on here, equal sign. Let's do an equal sign, and we're done with it. We can just press on the side. Long press for a few seconds. It's going to display my message for a few times. I can press it again on the side. So that's going to show me my message, hello, and then hopefully show me my message. And if not, pressing it again. If I bump it now, I can do the same thing with the other watch. Again, creating a letter, creating a random pattern just for time consumption. I can create something. Let's see how long it can go. And after I'm finished with this, I can press again on the middle key for a few seconds. And then now I can tap between the 2 watches, shaking hands. And now it's actually switching out the 2 different messages from one watch to the other. You saw how now they're two different messages going back and forth, and of course it's more useful if it's actually something memorable and not just some jumbled random letters and characters. But again, you can see that works pretty well, and you can again high five just by touching the watches, and it works pretty well. So overall, as far as what it's marketed to do is concerned, it does a pretty good job. It does everything that the company promises it to do, and it's definitely a very cool factor to go along with. We think that's pretty unique, and for technology it offers is surprisingly low cost. And if you just have that $15 to spend to kind of play around with, we definitely recommend this to check out, especially if you're a tech geek like me and you definitely enjoy playing around with these bands. Thanks for watching your OS and VTX Reviews.com. This has been a first look at the Hallmark Text Bands.